Morning. Oh, the musical reminder to leave time to breathe is so appropriate to our message this morning. But before I get to that, how nice to see you. This month, November, has all been about the art and the power of receiving. And it's appropriate because this is the month of our traditional Thanksgiving Eve service, which is Wednesday evening, coming with the One Heart Choir. I'm looking forward to that. It's we have this tradition of writing down what we intend to receive and be grateful for each year, and then we keep it here for you for a whole year. And I love that because then some of you will have received your cards already. And I love it because when it arrives, I don't recognize my own handwriting, right? And it's always a delight to see what was it that I thought I'd be open to receive. Sometimes I do better than others. So do come along and join us and bring a stamp and a pen and we'll take care of the rest. And this month we started off talking about what it means to receive. The first week and the second week we talked about how there's a difference between the energy of receiving and taking. And they're significantly different. And then last week Reverend Joyce DeFala spoke. And if you missed any of these, maybe you already know that all of our messages are available on our website, www.cslsr.org. Under the audio and video tab, you can actually subscribe to have the audio delivered to your inbox free of charge, as well as the video. It's all there for you to see, and it's amazing how the video just appears there. One of my friends was saying, I just expect it to be there. It's just there, it just happens magically. Well, it doesn't. It takes a whole army of elves to do it, Our volunteer video team, they do all the editing and the filming. It's quite a production, and there it is, all for you. Just available, free. Like the breath of air you breathe. You don't deserve it. Right? It's just given. There it is. It's just there. Like the video. And, it's a wonderful way to receive, because you can become part of that team and get free education, learn how to video and do all of that stuff. So go speak to Georgette about it. It's a wonderful way to become part of it. So today's topic, it goes along with this whole receiving thing, and the title is Receive Everything and Then Decide Later what you're going to do with it. Oy. And that's an important approach, because I think people who, like me, who might have a challenge with receiving, sometimes we develop a habit. It's like a knee-jerk reaction to when receiving starts to happen. A knee-jerk habit, as if we're in a hurry to get to, no thank you, very much, right? So the idea is to slow down, and the beginning of the chapter has this wonderful quote from Lao Tzu. It says, nature does not hurry, yet everything is accomplished. So it's the idea today to slow down, like the song said, take time to breathe, slow down through that tendency to knee-jerk reaction to no, right to it. And so I invite you to think of receiving more as a speed, an attitude towards life that is slow. And when I'm talking about receiving today, I'm not talking only about receiving gifts and products and compliments. I'm talking about the whole idea of being receptive to life, to the information of life, to the feelings, to the affection, to the intuition that is all part of life, developing a yes to that. So that receiving becomes an openness to letting life in and not rejecting it quickly with a, no thank you, I can do that all by myself. Do you know what I'm talking about? All right then. Because, for those of us who are challenged with receiving, all that openness can be overwhelming because of, how we can sometimes associate receiving with a loss of power, with a weakness, with an unwanted obligation coming soon. Right? Right. So I've been watching this, how much I let in, how much I receive. It's embarrassing, when you start looking, There's a massage student in our congregation. You know how it is now in school, you have to do so many hours of free massage, So he offered free massage to all the staff, and I noticed immediately, knee-jerk reaction, what if I get the massage and it's not good and he wants a testimonial? It could put me in an uncomfortable position of weakness and obligation. So I'm already shutting down based on a negative imagined future that may never happen. Do you know what I'm talking about? Nobody. Well, the author says actually being receptive doesn't lead to weakness, it leads to strength. It's just the opposite. Because by receiving everything, developing a yes to everything, you expand yourself. You expand your freedom because the number of options increase. You're letting yourself have access to all of the energy and information and power that truly we need to live a strong life without having to use it all. And all the while understanding you didn't do a thing to deserve it. But you didn't begin with no. So I'll read to you a story. She writes Linda's story, it's called, and I think maybe you'll see a bit of yourself in it as I did. Linda's husband died after a lingering illness. Although she had limited coping skills for managing the logistics of her life, she frequently turned down invitations from parents of her children's friends. Having time alone would have been a welcome relief, but feeling unable to reciprocate, she declined these offers. Would the parents understand her inability to give in return? Knowing the circumstances is probably why the invitations kept coming in the first place. And the truth is, had she been able to receive the gift of time to herself, Linda would have had more energy to give to her own children. There are times when it is not possible or even prudent to return a favor. The whole random acts of kindness is based on that exactly, right? The idea of passing on a good to someone who didn't do anything for you in the first place. Oh, the idea of receiving the unearned gift. Huh? Like what did you do? What did you do to deserve the next breath you're going to take? She talks about givers and receivers in this book and says, when we say somebody is a good receiver and a good giver, we're talking really about more than just one act that they did. We're talking about, when we say a good giver is a quality in that person about how they feel when they give. Just in the same way, a good receiver, it's not just one act where they're gracious in saying thank you. It's a whole attitude, a whole quality, a relationship towards life in which they have this grateful, welcoming response to everything that comes their way. And a good giver, it's interesting to note, doesn't feel compelled to give everything away, to respond to every request. No, that's a whole nother bunch of problems. right? Like a good giver isn't emptied by the act of giving. In fact, is filled up, fed by the act of giving, because the giving is done without any sense or need to control or to compensate for something that is empty inside. And similarly, a good receiver has the same sense of wellness from receiving, along with a sense of boundaries and common sense. You see, you don't lose all of your common sense if you become a good giver and a good receiver, except that some of us do. So think instead of receiving as an attitude towards life that allows the flow toward you to continue, the flow of information, the flow of intuition, the flow of feelings. So it's exactly the opposite of no. And key to it is that allowing of the flow has in it no obligation to use it, to own it, to consume it, to deflect it, to understand it. No. It's just like you suddenly become aware that you're standing in a river and you notice it for the first time. It's all coming. There's nothing you can do except slow down to the speed of this idea. I can receive it all and decide later what I'm going to do with what I want to do. I remember when I first learned about receiving, I was in a class with a teacher, and one of the students raised their hand and said, but what if? What if somebody gives you something because they want something from you? And I remember the answer she gave. Oh, it was so good. She said, don't give it to them. I had never thought of that. It was so liberating. And later on, I remember this teaching when somebody gave me a gift once, really, and they had an undisclosed intention. They really wanted me to be like PR for the gift. You know how that is? So they gave me the gift, and a week later they said, and here's what I want you to do. And I remembered the teaching, and I said, no, thank you very much. I felt so relieved. And I kept the gift. I'm open to receive. In that same class, somebody raised their hand and said, but you know how we are? We want to find the reason why it's okay to say no. But they said, what if somebody gives you something dangerous or unhealthy? And she thought about it and she said, well, I want you to think of yourself this way. I am a center of divine repurposing. I never thought of that. So you take it and decide later. If somebody gives you, gives you a cigarette, take it. Make compost out of it. Make art out of it. Receive everything. Decide later. Maybe you'll smoke it. Well, you could. She says the more you practice in this way, being open to what life is flowing in your direction, the more likely you are to start making good choices that you'll enjoy or that you can live with, or at least you will be mindful about, because you're opening yourself to options. And the more you practice this way, being open to life and everything that's in it, the more you will begin to see things as they are. Because now you're not deflecting, not even information or energy or feelings or intuition, because it takes a lot of energy to keep life out, to control. There's this part in the book where she talks about statements that are typical for people who are not receivers, non-receivers. And this is the sort of stuff It shows you that when you are not available, you're not open to the flow of life, you actually miss the crucial information you need to understand reality. And this is the sort of stuff that's easier to see in other people, but maybe you see it in yourself. He promised that for sure this year he'd leave his wife right after Christmas. Yeah, if you're laughing, you know it's really a groan, right? Right? Maybe you see yourself in a similar statement. How about, she's a good kid, she didn't mean to steal that money. I don't know why I'm gaining weight, I'm barely eating. His teacher just doesn't appreciate his spunky personality. He didn't mean to hit me. So if you've seen yourself in a similar parallel type situation, the question we're being invited to ask ourselves is, what might these people be ignoring or deflecting or not open to letting in? And if you've ever been in a situation similar to this, the question then is, what different choices might I make? Might they make? If I just took time to allow myself to sit, to stop hurrying through it, to feel what is going on, to let the situation in. See, the idea of spiritual living, at this Center for Spiritual Living, is that there is a deep, slow, profound, holy wisdom in you, in all of life. And when you let it in, let it flow through, it opens our eyes to what is actually going on and increases our options and deepens our sense of self, so that we don't live in a reactive mode. And why is it that people might block life and all that it has? Well, there are a number of reasons, some of which she quotes as not wanting to experience your feelings. Because it's big. Life is big. Not wanting to look like a bad person. Not wanting to disappoint others. Not wanting to let people know how you really feel. Wanting to avoid conflict. It takes a lot of courage to let reality in. A long time ago, I read a self-help book, and I can't even remember the title of the book because I remember only one line. You know how that is? You got your money's worth out of that one line. And it came in the form of this question: what are you pretending to not know? What are you pretending to not know about your body? Or you could say, what are you ignoring, or what are you avoiding, or what are you deflecting? But what are you pretending to not know about your health? What are you pretending to not know about your finances? What are you pretending to not know about how the food on your plate gets there? What are you pretending to not know about your country and its culture? What are you pretending to not know about the impact your not voting has? Etc. You see, so then receiving you can think of as an act of courage to accept reality, what reality has for you, and to accept with that the responsibility to know and to think and to face life and then decide what to do with it, about it. There is a power for good in the universe, our teaching says. Are you using it? Well, you are. But sometimes I use it to remain unconscious, to not know. She says in the book, use the statement, receive everything and decide later, to remind yourself periodically to pause, to wait, and to give yourself time. And if you do that, what you'll be accomplishing is the opening up of yourself to more of the available information of life, to more clarity. You'll be increasing your options. You'll be creating the spaciousness to allow yourself to consider before acting. You'll be improving your own chances of accepting the outcomes of your choices. And you'll probably start learning to make choices that are based in reality. You know, something that I've noticed over the years is that here at the center, our strongest givers tend to also be more skilled at receiving. Now, I don't know what to make of this, but I'll tell you how I came to the information. Several years ago, as part of our Giving Intention program that we do annually, we gave to everyone who participated in writing down an intention, we gave a free workshop about the spiritual principles that govern financial abundance and well-being and integrity. And so we analyzed attendance as we kept record, and what we discovered from the analysis is that the strongest attendance at this free workshop was among those people who gave the most. And so as people's giving decreased, so did their attendance at this free workshop. Now, I don't know what to make of it, but I certainly can relate it to my experience of saying no to the free massage. It's free, there must be something wrong. I mean, were the people who are open to giving also open with curiosity to what the gift might be in this workshop? I don't know. But it's certainly given me something to think about. Where am I saying no? She also says in the book that advanced receivers don't complain. Wow. She says not because they're trying to put a stop to that impulse, but because receivers are really focused on receiving and not scaring away. She talks about how if you want something, whatever it is, like more connection, then it's helpful to not complain about it, because of the energy of complaining is repulsive. So a good first step in becoming a good receiver is to stop complaining out there with your mouth. An even better step, second beautiful step, is to stop complaining inside. And then even better than that still is to turn your awareness to letting life in. Then your mantra becomes, I am available to everything that life has to offer. I'm available. You know, I know somebody right now in a different city unless it's you. I know somebody right now who wants a better job. And the way she talks about her current job is so off-putting that it is difficult to imagine hiring her. You know what I mean? She's a good person, but the energy of that complaining is so off-putting. I just got back from a journey to Thailand and Cambodia with some people at the center. And when we go on these journeys, we don't call them tours, we call them spiritual pilgrimages, because we go with an intention to be in the world in a certain way. And at the very first meeting, before we go on this journey, the first thing we introduce to the travelers is rule number 1, no complaining. No, it changes everything, it changes the energy. And it doesn't mean you can't address an issue. You can, but you've got a changed energy about it. So you come with the energy of resolution. In fact, in the book, she describes the energy of complaining in this way. Complaints push away rather than draw things towards you. Complaints discharge energy without changing anything. And complaints are about a story rather than about your feelings. So there's a beautiful challenge I see in this way to practice becoming available to receiving. This week, declare a complaint fast. Yeah, how about that? Abstain from complaining for a week. Did you know that when you stop complaining, you become more beautiful? And if you stop complaining this week, you might have to figure out what to do with all your feelings when that urge to complain rises up in you, because it will. She addresses it beautifully in this book. I don't have time to cover all of it, but it's centered on this idea of sitting with the feelings. Breathe. With asking yourself, what are they trying to tell me? Because when you spend that time letting life in, you discover, I can address situations in my life that I want to improve or even change. And when I redirect my energy from no to yes, from repelling to attracting, things are different. I was in Cambodia, and I was talking to an old friend there, complaining about everything I was complaining. I was on a complaint run. And he just sat there. And at a moment, pause in my complaints, he said to me, "What do you need right now?" Whoa. Changed everything. Because I realized, as I sat with the question, I couldn't find a single answer. There I was, sitting on the most beautiful planet known to humankind, fascinated with repelling energy. And just with that question, he helped me change gear and change my approach in that moment in my life from no to yes. Shall we pray? I invite you to breathe in and sigh. And with that, let your eyes close if it feels appropriate to do that. So that as we turn within, we can meet there that presence that was already there, that is already everywhere. We witness and recognize it to be what it is. Beyond every name we can name it, beyond every quality we can assign to it, it is the source of every quality and every name, and even those we have not yet come to understand or know. It is the all in all, the ground of all being, spirit or life. We recognize it in our prayer so that we may remember together that this is our dwelling place, this one life. And it is through it that we have this shared reality we call our lives, connected in it. And so our prayer is our way of remembering this together, so that we may realize that in this moment and in every moment, we are not only one with each other, but one with the source itself. And it flows to us and through us and from us and around us in this beautiful, elegant, wonderful dance that we call life. And as we witness this together about ourselves and about each other, it sets in place an understanding, a peaceful knowing, not only for ourselves but for everyone who enters in our thought atmosphere. It is our way of contributing to life. And with it comes a rising up of gratitude and appreciation at this remembrance. And that in turn makes it easy for us to let it be. And so it is.